Thanks everyone for staying for the entire morning plus an entire day that started at 2 p.m. Just a few closing remarks. There are supposed to be slides, and if they don't appear, I will still say the same things. So basically, the reason why we had went on this PBS day journey is to seek out an answer that I wanted to know, me as a community member, take off my Flashbots hat. What can I do to contribute to the PBS research that is critical to fight against essentially the centralizing force of MEB? And so this is something that I wanted to have as a call to action, which is to build as a community a open R&D map for the ecosystem on the topic, on the problem space of PBS. And so, of course, I stole a few slides from every speaker today. This is one version of the end game, thanks to Vitalik. And whether you do believe in the end game of approved singularity or not, the question really is, where are we now? And of course, understanding that there are a lot of ecosystems, different like participants and contributors sitting here. So this may be just one of the many examples or one of the many roadmaps that you're familiar with. The one on the right was, I believe, at the end of last year, Vitalik posted the Ethereum roadmap that is quite modular. And so where was PBS back then? It was right there with a couple components. It looks like we're 25% there. And today, we got a zoomed-in version of a heart-shaped roadmap from Mike Neuter. And there is still a lot of uncertainties to be figured out in terms of actually how do we actually get rid of certain intermediaries that is currently not quite accounted for in the protocol, as well as many other technical challenges. So I started to ask myself, okay, as a non-EF, non-core researcher, non-core developer, what can I do to actually understand how big, what is the lay of the land, and what can we do individually or as part of a project? So I went on a rabbit hole of mind mapping. So, of course, we have already on Ethereum MapBoost ecosystem that's in operations, that Flashbots many of my teammates are working on, along with many of the EF and the community members contributing to it. And it's up and running. There's also a healthy ecosystem that's beyond just the MapBoost ecosystem that is doing a lot more of the R&D work. So after I actually interviewed around 10 to 20 researchers who are actually working in a space, working on PBS, I realized that I really can't recognize much on this mind map anymore because it has expanded so huge. And I realized there's a lot more problems than I realized there was. And ultimately, these questions are very hard auction design problems, very hard consensus design problems, and there may not be a right answer. And when I look through from the farther away research problems, zooming into the development and finally the operational problems, I realized that the reason why I have a lot less branches there is because there's a lot more to be done by the community. But yet, we kind of just relied on, hey, the EF is going to take care of it. Not my problem. But that shouldn't be the case. There is so much we can do just in terms of figuring out in today's up and running out of protocol PBS MapBoost ecosystem, How do we keep relays economically sustainable? That's a research question. How do we actually have data transparency such that we could enable us to keep the ecosystem in check? And how do we actually contribute to the prototyping, the economic audits, the security audits of all of the early research work that is going to production before they turn into an EIP? Those are just open-ended questions unaccounted for. So it's a call to action, and this doesn't just apply to L1. Today, we heard, I think for many of you here, probably for the first time, for me probably for the second time, because I interviewed every single speaker, what would PBS on L2 look like? And this may be just a starting point. So I'll end right here with essentially the theme of today. Let's turn zero-sum game into positive sum. Let's keep crypto decentralized. Thank you.